So last week we were thinking about bearing fruit and how it seems that being part of the vine means that we must bear fruit lest we be cut away. Jesus returns to this theme in this week's Gospel because it's a continuation of his teaching at the Last Supper. So he's speaking to his disciples at this time, just before he goes to his crucifixion. So the question that perhaps might be on our lips after thinking about being part of the vine, being a branch of the vine that must bear fruit, is how are we going to do that? How are we going to be fruitful? Apart from, one could say perhaps, how is the pruning going to take place that means that we are fruitful? A word that crops up a couple of times today in this particular English, this particular translation that we use is abide. Jesus commands that we abide in his love. And he also asks us that the reason for this, the reason that we've been chosen and appointed, is that we should bear fruit and the fruit should abide. This is a very popular word, or at least the Greek word is very popular in John's Gospel and in John's letters. We heard from John, first letter of John as well today. In the Johannine literature, meno, to abide, to remain, or even to dwell or stay, is very popular, much more popular than in any other of the New Testament literature. We have it when Jesus, in John's Gospel, speaks to the people about his flesh and blood. John 6, "Those who eat my flesh and drink my blood abide in me and I in them." So abiding, remaining in Jesus, and Jesus remaining, abiding in us, seems to be a way of speaking about a relationship, about how we come to be disciples, how we come to be branches of the vine, how we come to bear fruit. And earlier in this very teaching at the Last Supper, Jesus says, "The words that I say to you I don't speak on my own, but the Father who abides in me does his works," or who dwells in me, as sometimes it is rendered, but it's the same word. And this leads Jesus then to go on to speak of abiding in me as I abide in you, speaking to the same apostles. So what we hear, if this idea of a relationship, it's a relationship that Jesus has with the Father that then he offers to the disciples. Where is this abiding to be found? Well, here we have perhaps a more clearer explication of what that abiding means. Jesus said to his disciples, we've heard, "As the Father has loved me, so have I loved you. Abide in my love." So the relationship of Jesus to the Father that he gives to us, the relationship of us to Jesus and to the Father then, is love. But then if we return then to the question, how do we bear fruit? It must be in relation to this love. And this is where the commandment idea comes in. Because unusually perhaps for what many of us might think of what love is, we're commanded to love. "You are my friends if you do what I command you." And this is the commandment, to love one another. So how are we to do that, I suppose, is the question that is raised. The love of God for us, because this is the abiding, this is the love that Jesus has for the Father and the Father has for Jesus, is one that is offered to us, that type of love. It's a love that therefore can be commanded. It's the love of God for us that brings forth love from us. John, in writing his letter, goes into this more deeply and yet more clearly. It's a very simple language that John uses in his letters. Beloved, let us love one another, for love is of God. God is love. So that's the type of love that we're speaking about. This is the type of relationship, the abiding in, the relationship that can be commanded. Why can it be commanded? Because we have received the love of God, the life of the Trinity, the love that the Father has for the Son, and the Son for the Father that is given to us, which is, of course, the Holy Spirit, which we hear about in the first reading. We see how it's so generously poured on everyone. Something perhaps for sacramental theologians to ponder about. These pagans receive the Holy Spirit before they've been baptized. In fact, that's the sign that they should be baptized, is that they've already received the Holy Spirit. They've been poured out, this generosity, this graciousness, this fullness of grace. Maybe in that way we can understand the joy that Jesus speaks of. My joy may be in you is the Spirit. He'll go on to speak of the Spirit. We'll be hearing about the Spirit quite a lot in the next few days and weeks. So it's the life of the Trinity then, the love that is God poured out for us, that enables us to fulfill the command to love. The root that gives forth fruit of the vine, the root of the vine of which we are called to be branches and bear fruit, the root that gives forth fruit is the love which is God. And I think it's again summed up just in this simple language of John in his letter. In this is love, not that we love God, but that he loved us. We love because he first loved us.